It's a lot easier to have a Zoom at the office.
Oh, wow, you're at the office.
Yeah.
You're in Culver City, Century City?
Century City.
Oh,
So,
nice. Oh man, good to see your face again, Andrew.
yeah,
How the hell's it going, man?
it's
Wow.
it's one step at a time. It's kind of like we've got this big old laundry list of just FEMA, apply for this, apply for that, cancel this service, cancel that, and it's like you strike one off and then you add two more in, and you just
Oh,
one at a time.
I can only imagine. Oh my God, we're dealing that with my father-in-law, just trying to get him settled in like a new house and trying to explore the coverage he has for his home and ton of work, man. Ton of work. So I have a lot of questions regarding how it happened from your perspective that day. And since I've kind of posted the content, done some interviews, your name in particular, because I've read, kind of, you're very insightful in your quotes. They're like, they keep asking about you and your pets. And I wanted to just, first of all, ask when you were driving up, you were trying to get to your pets. You
That's right.
tried to make a right there on the street that they weren't letting anybody go up. Is that accurate?
I
Or
was trying to go left up into Palisades Drive because I was going
you were trying
eastbound
to go
on
basically
Sunset.
straight.
Up,
What? Okay, it was left. Okay, up into Palisades Drive. They wouldn't let you up there.
correct.
And at that point, what were you? You were in kind of a no man's land where there were no other cars at that point. So were you just kind of staying there waiting until someone would let you up, or what?
Talk,
How did you get in that no man's kind of land?
talk about hope. So I mean, it's just hilarious because it was just I was in a daze, right? So we got the fire alert. I'm in Century City at
Yeah.
10:40, and that morning. And the only reason I actually came into the office was because I had a 3 o'clock appointment for a haircut. I was just so overdue, still am. But I came into the office and then I got the alert because I was just like, you know what, it's kind of windy. Maybe I'll stay at home today. We get the alert at 10:40 and everybody, like I have a couple other people that are live up in the Palisades. We all just ran out the door
You
and left.
booked it.
We
Wow.
knew something was bad brewing.
Yeah.
And so getting back to the Palisades probably took us 20 minutes. We were there at 11. So
Oh wow.
the kind of piecing the stories and everything about the fire response, they got the alert probably about 10:20 or something, and then we got the alert at 10:40. So 20 minutes later, you've got just the perfect storm of evacuation coming down the hill as you were part of.
Right.
Then you had our first group of cars that, frankly, you could tell who was going to the Palisades because we were driving down the middle of the road,
Yeah.
running red lights, and just, I mean, a little bit like, yeah, we were getting there. So we were kind of this first pack that gets there. They had already kind of blocked um, the turn from PCH onto Sunset, that right turn up the hill right by
Okay.
Vaughn's.
Yeah.
And some cars went through Vaughn's to bypass that blockage.
Ah.
I was like showing an ID and I was like, I gotta get up there. And then they were like, all right, well, they're evacuating. You need to turn around. So I'm like, all right. And then they kind of let us through to turn around. And then all of us just kept on going up the hill. We just ignored these
Oh,
corners to
okay.
turn around. So we were
Yeah.
this first group of cars there sitting at to make that left that they had already not let people up the hill.
Yeah.
They had fire trucks blocking, so there was just no way around. And then you had everybody still trying to get out of Palisades evacuating. And so I'm kind of sitting there going, maybe something will change. Maybe I didn't know about the gridlock up Palisades Drive. And
Was I on Palisades Drive? Is
you
that
were
where
on
I came
Palisades
from?
Drive coming down.
Oh, okay. I thought I was on like Marquez or some other. That was Palisades Drive. Because I
Well,
remember turning when I walked with my father-in-law. I turned and then we saw you. Is that all must be the same Palisades Drive? Is
that's
that
right. That's that intersection. So Palisades Drive was that gridlock that you saw
okay?
bulldozers and everything. So I'm assuming I think you guys came down the hill from there
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about Jeff and riding with him. And so
Oh,
I'm
you were in there, so you were waiting to get up. They told you to turn around. You and other cars, which I didn't see when I saw you, were
right,
kind of lingering, like not.
lingering, and we were all moving to the side so fire trucks could get up, and we were just kind of parked on the side of the road there
I see.
on the curb. and just staying out of the way.
Right.
It was good that everybody was trying to stay out of the way, but we were just hopeful, like maybe they'll any, we want to be first in line the second they open, let us anyone go up there real quick. So
Yeah.
we just sat there, and
And
then
how long were you sitting there before you saw the influx of pedestrians who had to go on foot?
probably
Uh,
about
you know,
30 minutes or so, we were
oh,
sitting.
30 minutes. You were just kind of sitting, hoping something opened up.
Yep.
And then finally, did you offer to help other people that you saw, or there was no one until you saw that influx of people, I'm assuming?
The influx of people, frankly, there was a lot of people. So there's the main group of people, I think, ahead of you
Oh, there were. Okay.
that were a little bit quicker, just on their feet
Right.
or maybe
Right.
down the hill. So they were just carrying pets and children. Like it
Gotcha.
was just walking towards the beach.
Right.
And so there's a kind of a group of us because then they started not letting anybody pass, up behind us.
Right. Right. Right.
And I'm sitting there just kind of like in a daze. People are walking past us. They had their stuff, but they were clearly making it down the hill. And then things started getting worse, but then
Yeah.
by then I think there were a lot less people. Like you and your
Yeah.
father-in-law were kind of the last ones coming out, and before
Right.
you guys all came out, the hill started exploding. Like one palm tree kind of
I know.
exploded,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
that's
saw
when
that.
everybody started panicking. The ones that were trying to get up, it was just like game over. All right, everybody evacuate. So all
Oh,
these cars started turning around. I turned around to face the ocean, but then I was like kind of still hang I was parked just in the side where all the cars were parked, just kind of backed into one of those parking spots on the side on the street, and I was just kind of sitting there just scratching my head. I don't know what to do. The animals are still up there. We're making calls, figuring out what we're going to evacuate.
yeah.
Our neighbors, because they were at the top of the hill, they had gotten evacuation orders, but then because of the gridlock, they were told to shelter in place instead.
Right. I
We're
had a friend who unfortunately lost her home, had the same thing. I was like, she was told to shelter in place until later, and then I
later.
guess her house burned down and they got her down. When you picked us up, though, you were facing away from the ocean. So did you do another U-turn to
I
come
did do
back up?
another. So you guys had just walked past me, and then I was getting ready to leave because that part of Palisades just kind of caught on
Caught
fire.
on fire. Right,
And
right.
I'm going, oh, well, okay, I can't stay. And then I saw y'all, and I kind of did another U-turn to pull up next to you and just said, it was funny. It was just surreal because I was like, get in. And you were going, who are you? I'm like, who cares? Just
Yeah, I
get in.
know. Thank you.
No, it's just a
I was
natural
I was
reaction, right?
so it was so I mean, you can't imagine what's going through people's minds. We had just like the fire was right there. It was literally like it wasn't just a fire like what you see. It was like the fire, and then it like the wind slowly gets it closer and closer to the hill. This was like a fire where it takes shunk, and suddenly there was like an ember, and it would be like a bomb on a different part of the hill. It was like so, and that's like what was happening with the palm trees. It's like all of a sudden there was a fire, a big fire in a totally separate spot than there was the fire that was, 30 feet
Precisely. It
above.
like jumped and came around, and it was just like,
Right. So it was intense. So thank you, by the way. I
ah,
mean, I know we've talked, and I just,
look, I think
want to
anyone,
say it again. I appreciate it. And, to just, you
I
obviously saw
understand. I
that we
mean,
were a little struggling. There was an old guy, and, I really appreciate it, and I'm
it,
indebted.
my
So,
father's on neuro decline, so we're always like trying to get him a walker. He's a follower, so I know how slow and difficult it can be to
yeah,
help someone move, especially when everything's
yeah.
coming down
And
around
I
you.
remember Jeff was not far. I think I said to Jeff, like, did you want to hop in his car? And
Right.
he was like right nearby. I think he was kind of keeping an eye on us as well, and just kind
Hmm.
of, also wondering, hey, he just left, a lot of his stuff around. So from your perspective, at that point, did you have no idea what's going to happen to your cats? Were you,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at that point, the neighbors had been able to grab the dog, the one that was shelter in place. So they had the dog.
and was the dog outside, or did they
The
have a key
dog
to
was
your house?
inside, so we had a key code that they could get into the house.
I see, I
So we
see.
gave them that. They got in, uh,
Yeah.
got the dog. They weren't able to get the cats, so the cats were still in there. And and so then the shelter in place became an evacuation order for them, and then they left with our dog,
Okay.
only
Okay.
the dog and their dog. Just
And
because
so did they, so now you picked us up. you know your dog is safe. Your cats shoot, they didn't get the cats. You're freaking
Right.
out. I remember you doing a U-turn. I have a video when I first got in your car of that U-turn, of us turning around in that very
Hmm.
apocalyptic street.
Oh my God.
Um,
It was
and
out of a movie. I keep thinking of that one movie, Volcano, where LA, it turns out that there was an active volcano under LA and everything's on fire. And
yeah, yeah, no, it was apocalyptic. It was a different type of movie because it's like the first half that I was involved in, which is mainly the video that ended up drawing interest was, a lot of people race. The second half, when I was wheeling him down and when you saw me, it was very, yeah, it was out of a movie. The smoke, and it had the orange tint glow of the smoke with the light bouncing off of it. Nobody really there. I don't remember seeing any cars or a lot of people, and it was very odd. I remember once you did that U-turn and you're like, what do we do? I remember when we were on the PCH, you pulled over for a time. What was going through your mind when you pulled over? Like were you like, should I stay close to try and head back? Like, what were you thinking at that time?
was just more of, all right, I think we're out of immediate danger. Let's just pull over for a second, catch a breather. I was kind of looking on the map at the fire and the where the winds were blowing.
Ah,
And for the highlands, for a good 2 days, basically the wind was blowing away, and our our complex for the most part up there and a lot of units up there were actually safe because the
ah.
fire started by the highlands up by us, and then everything was blowing south towards the village, so the wind was actually blowing away from all the units at the top of the hill and the highlands where we were.
Okay.
So actually, I was kind of going like, all right, well, maybe if the winds keep up this way, it's not at the house. Maybe the cats have a fighting chance, and people are starting to text, and you're kind of texting back to, well, just we've got the dog. Just pray, if anything, what can you pray for? Just pray for the cats.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy
And so
crap.
you
I don't
were
know. If you weren't religious before, you're kind of like the power of prayer somehow pulled off this miracle at the very end of this story.
talk to me about when Eric comes into play. Like
Absolutely.
how did that come about?
The pet saga kind of started on Wednesday afternoon. So I've been, sleeping, and everybody's just on the fire app looking at their house, seeing are there any hot spots in the area. Pretty good. And then so you just started seeing these little hot spots show up. It wasn't like the fire was being pushed into the village, into our area in the Highlands, but there were hot spots popping up, and you were hearing that there weren't any firefighters up there, that there was no water pressure, that so you're just sitting there going helpless, going, I we could put this out. Like, if we had known that firefighters were going to pay attention somewhere else, and that there was nothing they could do because the hydrants were not pumping up there. And by the way, the same, we're now hearing the reservoir up there right next to the Highlands
Right,
had
right.
been
I've seen
empty, and
those
you're just kind of
pictures.
like
Yeah,
frustrated.
yeah.
And so we're going like we could have gone up there. So at that point, I kind of tell Sarah, I'm like, this is not good for the cats. Like, our house is now in danger with the spot fires. And so we get in the car and we're just trying PCH, we're trying Sunset, we're just trying to get around every blockade. So she and I are in the
And
car.
This is Wednesday,
This is
after the day
Wednesday.
after I met you. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
And we're racing around, kind of evading blockades. At one point, on Sunset, we just had enough, and we just drove around the blockade and just kept going. And I think they may have started to chase us, and then maybe radioed it in ahead, and there was some cars waiting for us to turn us around. So while I'm driving, she's calling the neighbors that saved Daisy to find out exactly where the cats were, to make sure that both cats had eyes on it, that they were in the bedroom. That's when we found out that they were in the closet, and one of them mentioned like, "Oh, Eric is still up there right now saving animals," and
Who mentioned that? Is he a was he who is Eric? Was he a dog walker for you
he's
guys?
he is the brother of our HOA president. Our HOA president actually lived across the driveway from us, so we were all
Okay.
part of the same complex. So we find out that Eric's still up there. I think Eric lives a little bit further down, and I think his house is okay.
And
Uh,
who does Eric live with?
Eric lives by himself.
Okay.
So he's the family, Eric's family has been up there for a long time, and he would usually just walk a lot of dogs. I mean, he's just an animal lover. So his normal, I think, day-to-day job was just walking dogs. We call Eric after we find out he's up there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm at my brother's house. The neighbor's house just exploded. My brother's house just caught on fire." And so I'm going like, "Well, can you save our cats? Like, is our unit on fire yet?" And he's like, "No." But I'm in guest parking and the fires are starting to pick up, and I'm like, can you run into our unit? And
How was Eric still there, allowed to be there for
I,
he
I
was
don't
there
think
for
he was.
over 24 hours just staying there, right?
I think so.
Never
I think he was kind of avoiding detection of
evacuation.
evacuation orders, and he was probably and then at that point, without firefighters or police up there, I don't think anyone was really enforcing whoever was holding out. So he was holding out. He was kind of hiding. Basically, he was kind of hiding up there. He's like, I think things are going to be
Was
okay.
he hiding in his house or was he hiding in his brother's house?
We'll have to ask him, but I think he was at his house.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he was at his house. So he goes up to our door. He's like, it's locked. I'm like, well, there's a little key box. Here's the code.
And this
And
is on the phone. You're on the
the
phone
son
Wednesday
on the
afternoon
phone walking him through this.
as a fire is happening literally next door.
Exactly, across the driveway.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And he's just like, yeah, things are okay. Like, we'll still be able to escape. And we're kind of like, okay, well, if you're gonna get the cats go in, here's the key code. And he's kind of like, can't quite get the code open. I was like, if you want, you can kick the door down. I don't care. Or there's a patio,
Yeah.
the sliding glass door. There's chairs right there. Just throw the just smash it. Just get in there. There's two cat carriers on the bed right outside in the bedroom.
Oh my
So
God.
he goes in there, um,
And
and
and he left the other pets that he saved in the car. Did he
I
were
think
they
he, yeah, in
yeah.
the car. And so he goes up there and he just, I mean, he got the harder one right away. Like we were just like, which one did you just load? She's like, the black one. We're like, oh man, the black one's the vicious hard one to capture. And he just did it proficiently. Threw one in the carrier, and then the other one was hiding. She's really good at hiding, and and he's looking at her. He's like, I can't find it. There's clothing, and he's like, this is that. God bless
Oh
him.
my
He's like,
God. And
so
this is
he's
all
not
on the phone with you. This is on the phone.
with my wife. I'm
Yeah.
driving. And my wife is walking him through this and begging her, and she's begging him to find the second cat. And we're just kind of like, what do we? All the emotions. Like, do we risk it, or we already have one? And so we're
Right.
begging him to find the second one. And he's like, wow, there's a lot of clothes here. We're like, we don't care about the clothes. Just toss them out. He's like, well, I'll put them on the bed. We're like, just toss. It's just very straightforward. Like, well, this is
Right.
not nice to throw clothes on the ground.
Yeah.
So he searches, and my wife has put her on speakerphone, and she's calling for the cat, and then she's crying and calling for the cat, just like begging, like, don't worry, this man for once, just come out. When I know you're scared, but
Yeah, please come out. Oh
come
my
out.
God.
And she did, and he got the second one.
Oh my God, this is making me cry. She's on speakerphone calling for the cat as he's in your house, trying to get this cat to come out. And she's like yelling in her voice, and the shy cat.
The shy cat comes
Unbelievable.
out.
Anyone who has a cat, we don't have a cat now, but we used to, knows that sometimes
Cats
cats
do want
are
to
good at
they do
hiding.
what they want to do.
Yeah. And so did you have one carrier? Did he have one carrier for both cats, or did you have
He had
two?
two carriers, so two small kind of vet carriers.
And they were already in your house, like you
They
told
were
them.
into the house on the bed. And then so he grabs a towel and uh,
Oh, that's just
he covers
crazy.
him. And Sarah's like going, okay, now evacuate, now evacuate. And he replies, he's like, well, I think it's still okay. I think I can take care of the cats at my house. I think I have 3 cans of cat food or something. And Sarah's just like, just come down, evacuate. And he's like, no, no, no. And they're going back and forth in the house. And I'm like, kind of going like, Sarah, just get them out of that immediate danger because now we're 20 minutes into this between the cat catching and this trying to figure out convince
Yeah,
him to come down the hill.
yeah,
And like our house could be on fire with him in it. He needs to get out. Just grab the cats and go. So he
yeah,
goes. We finally. She's like, just all right. Just get out of immediate danger. Grab your car. Put the cats in it. You can go back to your place. We'll compromise there. And then so he's like, okay, well I have to get off the phone to carry the two cats down to the car. And so we don't hear
yeah.
from him for I don't know, maybe 40 minutes, an hour or so. And Sarah's just texting him from the hotel.
No,
Did you
but he went to his house. Didn't you say he made a sandwich for himself at his, or
that
where did he make
that
his
it just
sandwich?
gets better. It's so this is where the sandwich part gets in. So he's been silent and Sarah's like texting him. He's not responding. We're just in the dark, trying to, thinking worst case scenario, she's crying and upset. And we were kind of like, I'm like, let's give him a little room. Like he's like, let's not bombard him. It's not effective right now. So we stop, and then I think he texts her back later or called her. I think maybe it was on the phone and said like, "All right, I think I'm ready to go now. I think it's time to evacuate, but I'm gonna make myself lunch, a sandwich first because I haven't eaten all day and I'm starving." So
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
now Sarah's just losing it. Like, what do you mean? Like, we will buy you lunch. Come down, come down, come down. You're like,
And this was at his house. Did he move all the cats and dogs into his house or did he just keep them in the car as
I
he
think
was?
he moved them into his house.
So they're in his house now. He's making a sandwich. I kind of wanted him to make a sandwich at your place. It's like, I think I'm going to make a
I
sandwich.
mean,
Open
part
your
of it was
fridge.
like, what a story that would be if he was just looking at the fridge like, hey, these leftovers look great.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like,
Um,
help if you were in danger.
hey, it's probably going to burn up anyway, so we're not going to get to it. So.
Right? You're like,
So he made this sandwich. Now, how many other, because you had said he had other dogs from the neighborhood. Were these dogs that he tended to that he knew, or were they other just rando neighbors like you found his name and then he went and rescued pets?
I think they're neighbors that knew him, that
Yeah,
probably had him walking their dogs regularly and were
right.
in the same situation. We knew him, his brother.
You knew
Uh,
his brother, but
yeah,
you found out that, oh, Eric is still there.
yeah,
And
that
then it
Jeff's
was
brother's
around
still there.
Wednesday evening or Wednesday late afternoon that you got reunited with your pets.
Yeah, so
Cats, rather.
after the sandwich, she's going, no, no, don't worry about the sandwich, just come down. He has his two huskies, and then at that point he had rescued another two dogs, and then our two cats. So then lunch, radio silent again, and we're kind of going like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Right.
And so I kind of call him and just get kind of like, hey, what's the status, buddy? Like, and he's like, okay, I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now, but I've got one more dog to rescue at that
Yeah.
point. So there's a sandwich delay, and then okay, one more dog to rescue, and obviously you're kind of going like, well, you're not going to convince him otherwise.
And you don't want to not have someone
And
else's dog rescued.
exactly, because what if it was our dog?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I was kind of going like, what I don't want is him to slow this down. So I said, all right, go get this last dog. Make sure you load all the souls that you already have in your car. Don't leave them behind and put them in the car.
Right.
When you go get this last dog, the fifth dog, do you promise? Do you promise to just head down and evacuate right there? Don't go anywhere else, just evacuate right there. And he's like, I promise.
And where was the last dog? What street did you live on Pacific Palisades, by the
I
way?
did. I
And
did.
what street was the last?
I want to say it was Palisades circled, so just a little bit below us.
Okay. Okay.
And and I think that part of the Highlands is one of the little pockets that survived.
Ah.
And then, I'm watching on the map. I'm like, oh, our house was literally the last one to kind of finally succumb to it. I
Ugh.
think 30 minutes after he left. So we were going, well, our house, God bless her, she was the one that held it together just long enough for those cats to get out somehow miraculously with this man. And so another 40 minutes goes by after he promises to come down, evacuate, and his brother's at the Shore Hotel next to the Viceroy, so we didn't have to go far. My wife
Oh,
went to
where you
meet
dropped
him.
us off.
Yeah,
That's exactly where you dropped us off in front of like the Shore Hotel. That's
yeah,
where
yeah.
okay.
So they were right there.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so Eric pulls up and he's got in his black Jeep and he's got dogs just hanging out of every window. Like, how
Mhm.
dogs love to just have their tongues out and just
Yeah.
they don't know what's going on. They just thought it was a fun car ride. He's happy because he's surrounded with animals, just an animal lover.
Yeah,
For him, it's he's not worried about the big picture. He's just kind of like truly one step
right.
processing at a time, like, okay, this is my routine. But
Can I see that picture? Do you
yeah,
have that
absolutely.
picture?
I'll send it
Un
to you.
Oh my
Just
God.
unbelievable.
All right. Well, we're almost at it. We got 5 minutes left of my Zoom.
And he also texted me or told me, he's like, oh, by the way, because he's like, what should I do with the key? Should I put it back in the key box? Should I lock the door? I'm like, I don't care. Just get out of there, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
he texts back later. He's like, I locked your front door and I put the key back in the key box. I'm like, thank you. I
He
mean,
locked the door. Oh, God bless this guy. I can't wait to meet him.
Absolutely.